Your teen requested a ride, but this time not from you. It's through their Uber teen account. You drive your teenager around, a lot, to their friend Jacob's house, their other friend Jake's house, to James's, to Jaden's, to Jalen's, to...
Mom? This is Jake's house, not Jacob's.
Now with an Uber teen account, your teen can request a ride under your supervision. They'll ride with a highly rated driver, and with live trip tracking, you'll follow along the whole ride to their friends' houses that all sound the same. Add your teen to your Uber account today. See app for details.
Bye, Mom.
This episode is brought to you by Jira. Ever wonder how those big marketing campaigns that make headlines get delivered on time? It all starts with Jira, the only project management tool you need to plan and track work across any team. Every step of that campaign is organised in one place, from launching the campaign all the way back to designing ads and writing creative briefs. Get started on your next big marketing campaign idea today in Jira.
Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA. Hello and welcome to the Dragon's Lair podcast, the place to be for Dragon's Lair RFC podcast. And Gwent Rugby. I'm Jamie and joining me as always, Grant Thomas. How are we, Gav?
Very well, Jamie. You know, I'm full of optimism, which will be dragged out to me and beaten on Saturday, I've no doubt. But, you know, kind of right now, I'm very optimistic.
Yeah, let's see how we feel in a couple of weeks' time. That could change quite dramatically. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Please subscribe and leave us a good review, as it helps us out massively if you haven't done so already. Okay, so this is our season preview pod, where we'll be looking ahead to the new season and making our predictions. Will the Dragons kick on and surprise us all? Or will the hope kill us all again? Well, joining us this week is top pharmacist and Dragon Supporters Club Chairman Dan Hallett. Dan, welcome back. How are we?
Great. Thanks for the invite again. Not quite on the same calibre as some of your summer guests, but, you know. Mm-hmm.
No, all special guests, Dan. All special guests on our pod. Don't do yourself down. But
I do have to give you a whole lot of credit for that. I've been listening over, and especially one with the barrel. A couple of points to there, I was getting a bit emotional.
We all were. There were a couple of times wiping tears away too in that chat.
Lovely guy. Yeah. Really, genuinely lovely guy. Yeah. Okay, so let's start then with the Dragon Supporters Club, Dan. You had an AGM meeting recently, so is there any news from that or any news in general you want to share with us?
So we've been, I'm blaming myself mainly here, a little bit slack in keeping up with things since the pandemic and the lockdown, and we're just trying to have a bit of a reset. So yes, as you say, we had the AGM recently. Another member has come into the committee just to give us a bit of a hand. All help is gratefully received. So what I'm trying to do is do some improvements to the website. We obviously, as the success of the away travel for the pre-season friendlies, we're still carrying on with those, and they've been a great success. Christian Hyde has done a cracking job there as well, along with Deb in recent years, and obviously Christian's wife Rachel is more than helpful to him as well. So the away travel has been a success still. We're looking at some things like maybe some merchandise like we did several years ago. We had some hats, some bobble hats, and some polo shirts. So basically, it's a kind of a keep your eyes peeled. We'll be communicating out via our usual channels, so X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and Facebook, but also we'll be using the emails as well. So if your listeners aren't members, just go into the Dragon Supporters Club website. If you can, because this needs a massive upgrade, click on the to join us and fill in the details, and you'll add to the database, and we'll send you all the communications like the AGM update and things like that. So, and also, if any of your listeners are so minded and they're quite tech savvy and they want to give us a hand with the website, we'd be more than grateful to to get some help.
Excellent, good stuff. Yeah, get in touch if you can help. And it's free of course, Dan, isn't it? It doesn't cost anything to join the supporters club.
Nope, just and your hope and your enthusiasm.
Excellent, good stuff. Okay, let's talk about some news then, because there has been some news coming out of the club. So the new kit is going to be out on Wednesday. So by the time this pod is out, then we'll see the new kit. The club have announced the Dragon Signs are the club's new front of shirt sponsor. Now, Dragon Signs have sponsored the Dragons for a little while now, so they're not a new sponsor as such, but they are going to be our new front of shirt sponsor. We had a comment sent to us about this from Stephen, who says, the lack of ambition that the choice of shirt sponsorship seems to show would indicate little improvement this year. And then he adds, yes, I know on and off the field are not directly related. Gav, do you think that's a fair comment? I mean, it's better than no sponsor like the Ospreys have currently got at the moment, isn't it, on their shirt?
Who does he want to sponsor us? Ferrari. They're a local company. They're from the Eastern Valleys. They're involved in grassroots rugby. We heard last week that one of their directors is involved in Neutradiga.
That's right. Yeah.
Their signs are everywhere. I don't know what their turnover is, but I reckon they're making a decent amount of money, and I reckon it's a decent sponsorship deal. I don't think this is last minute stuff. It's not like when you see Scottish football teams sponsored by cab firms. That this is a national company, that covers all of Wales and the West Country. So I don't understand the lack of ambition. What do you want?
I kind of agree. I agree with you, Gavin. It's part of it is the current climate in Welsh rugby. We are having to cut our cloth, and equally, we're not a massive goal for. We're not going to get. It's not going to become the Pepsi Rodney Parade Stadium.
Unfortunately,
and it's so there has to be some expectation. We're not to lose.
No, all the Welsh clubs are sponsored by local companies, aren't they? It's the Nestle, it's West Walian Company, Cardiff, a Welsh company. That's rugby.
Yeah, I agree. It is worth pointing out when Rhys Blumberg was on our pod, he did say that they've had trouble securing sponsorship for the front of shirt. Now, this is why the kit is out so late. Because personally, I don't think it's been a good look playing pre-season games in last season's kit. But I understand why they've had to do it. It's worth remembering as well, Scarlets, they've had the same issue with us. They've just secured a local company, a recycling firm, and Ospreys don't have a front of shirt sponsor. That's not their fault. That's because their front of shirt sponsor EcoWatt went into some financial problems. But it is a sponsor, isn't it, Dan? So it's not the end of the world.
Exactly. It's extra money into the pot, which is desperately needed in Welsh rugby, and desperately needed in the pro teams. So as every single penny counts.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, in other news then, the proposed Liam Williams move to the Dragons is off, according to Wales Online. So a couple of weeks ago, Daily Mail reported that Williams was likely to sign for the Dragons, and now he's not. He's heading back to Japan instead. Now, Dan, this had a real mixed reaction on the forums, didn't it? Some people said, yeah, that's signing world class. We weighed up the pros and cons of signing Liam Williams. It came with a lot of caveats, such as age, unavailability, injuries, etc. Would you have liked to have seen Liam Williams at Rodney Parade, do you think? Because part of me would have, I think, for me. What about you?
For him to play, yes. I think that would have been a good thing. But as you say, there were so many other issues behind that. How much would he cost? How many times would he play? I know he didn't play that very many top minutes for Cardiff, did he? And
no.
And is he coming back to use us? Would he have come back to use us as a stepping stone to get back into the Welsh team? It's that kind of thing. Would we just be would he be here for the right reasons?
Yeah, fair point, Gav.
Well, I think he would have gone the Welsh team anyway. But it depends, because I think the talk was it was going to be a cut price deal, whatever that means.
Yeah.
And if we could have got him cheaply, it's a massive upgrade for not much money. But it's a moot point anyway, isn't it? Because he's decided that a cut price deal in Newport not as lucrative as earning a pile of money in Japan.
Yeah, and he was supposed to be coming back for family reasons as well. His partner is pregnant, but I don't know what's happened there. So I don't know whether they couldn't agree terms or whether Liam's just gone nah. But I mean, all 4 Welsh clubs were linked to Liam, and now none of them are signing him. So it looks like he's going to stay in Japan, and that's down to him, I guess. That's his decision. So in other news, Dave Flanagan spoke to the media today. He said that the Dragons are actively searching another tight head prop ASAP. He said that we hadn't planned for Lloyd retiring. We believed that we had 5 good tight heads at the region. Now we're down to 4. We are actively searching in the market for the right guy for us, and there has been the opportunity to capitalise in the last week or so on certain players, which we are pursuing. Dan, the retirement of Lloyd Fairbrother, that's going to leave a massive hole at the club, isn't it? Both as a player and a person. How did you react to that news?
Yeah, it was obviously a shock, same as others. But obviously he's got to put his health first and foremost. But as you say, as a player, he was always there. You can guarantee he'd either be starting or he'd be on the bench. There would be no let up with Lloyd. He was Mr. Consistent. His scrummaging was one of the strongest in the club.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a miss because obviously we traditionally struggle at scrum. But I think it's the person himself. I'm hoping. I think I mentioned it on your pod that he's hoping to be around the club a bit more, so he can actually still stay involved, being an ambassador for the club, whichever way Dragons want to use him, or he wants to be used as well, I suppose. But I think in the modern game, you need that many tight heads. You need the top quality tight heads because it's not a position, I'm sure, Gav, you say, listen, you can't put kids in.
No.
unless they're exceptional kids. And I was listening to Kerry Jones's pod with you guys as well.
Yeah.
The fact that all the kids coming through, they're all huge. They're all monsters.
Yeah.
But they don't know their trade yet. I don't want to be in that dark space in between the 2 front rows. So, and I'm sure that they'll learn. But hopefully there'll be some knowledge transfer from Lloyd as well if he's hanging around, and hopefully he might be able to get involved with Sam Hobbs as well, and maybe a bit of scrum coaching, maybe, hopefully, if it's something he wants to do.
Well, he said he was keen to do it, particularly around mole defence, is something he wants to be able to pass on. I might need to speak to him about that for my club, to be honest. We could do some mole defence tips. But you're right, though, Dan. I think it's missed that tight end, probably the most complex position on the entire field. I'm sure fullbacks will tell you that's not the case, but it absolutely is. Such a technical position. And there's not many out there. And I know, Jamie, you've been involved in social media discussions today about why aren't we doing it. It's like looking for rock in those pools. There aren't many top class tight ends out there. Yeah, absolutely. They come at a premium because there's not many of them.
Yeah, I think the club knew that Lloyd had issues, but I don't think they were prepared for his sudden retirement.
No.
And it has left us now in a bit of a pickle. We are leaving it far too late to be looking for a good quality tight end, and they don't come cheap. It's a very difficult position to recruit. I think personally we should be scouring the market and looking for a Georgian or Moldovan tight end, someone who would be cheap, but would be a good scrummager. We need like another Dimitri Arhip, don't we? If we can find it. Maybe look at the Pro D2. There's some good scrummagers there, but it's very late in the market with the budget that we got as well to attract a really good tight end, isn't it?
It is, and also the Pro D2 budgets are way above what we get as well. So yeah, well, they're bigger than most in the URC, I think, apart from obviously the Masters in the world. But so it would be an announcement that might have to go down to Federal one, but there's probably still decent budgets there as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
There must be some massive farmhand from the Transvaal playing in the Currie Cup who we could convince to come across, for not too much money. Even though the Curry Cup is a massively unserious competition, to borrow a quote from the Blood and Mud pod, but they must look at the size of South African props playing in the URC. There must be similarly big boys that we could bring in.
Yeah, we've got look at the Curry Cup. There must be some really good South African. If you can find like a Tom Bofa, look how good he's been for the Ospreys. So many of that mould. But I tell you what was interesting. Di today also talked about Leon Brown. He's back. He's fit. He actually played well against Bath. He played the first half. Solid scrum. Stable. It was actually Martinez on the other side who was giving away the most penalties. I thought Leon would play pretty well. Good shift in the loose as well. He said this: Leon will play a couple of weeks, have a week off, play a couple, have a week off. We have a plan for Leon and the best case scenario that it is followed, but we will adapt it if it needs be. How do we feel about that? Do you think it's right to be managing Leon in this way?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Just because of Leon's history of it's not necessarily seems to be big injuries, but lots of smaller niggles.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite get back to full fitness and plays maybe a little bit too early and does the same thing again. But when we mentioning huge blokes on the Transvaal, we've got one of the biggest right there. He's an absolutely enormous man. Also one of the most smuggliest, gentlest souls if you speak to him off the pitch, but my goodness, he's a massive man.
No, you're right.
He just blocks out the light in the room. But yeah, so I think managing Leon like that is I think we have to if we want to get the best out of him. Otherwise, we're going to end up where he comes on for 20 minutes, has a niggle, has to come off, and with the depth we've got, as we're searching for another tight head, it's a kind of a must for us to make sure he's on at full fitness as much as we can.
No, I agree. And what's the bet? And he'd be straight in the Wales squad in the autumn if he stays fit. It's going to happen, isn't it?
Yeah. If he's fit, Gatland loves him. So
yeah, I was just going to say that Gatland does love him, doesn't he?
I saw him at the Family Fun Day a couple of weeks ago. He's in really good shape, Leon. Really good shape. I just pray in that he's going to stay injury free because he needs a break from injuries, doesn't he? If anyone deserves a break in injuries, it's Leon Brown and Ollie Griffiths and other guys. But I think we all need, from a Welsh rugby point of view, not just for Dragons, I want to see him fulfil his potential. We've always been big fans of Leon on this pod, Gavin, but it's the injuries that slowed his development down, haven't they?
Don't you think it's strange with Gatland how much he loves Leon Brown, but really seems not to like Rhys Carey, who are very similar players?
Yes.
Kind of big, mobile props. Not perhaps as good in the scrummage, but really good getting around the park. But Carey has never really had a lot of time for, whereas Leon always gets in the squads.
Do you know why I think that is? It's because of his conditioning. I think it's been well known now that Carey's conditioning is not up to its natural standard. He was rejected by Pivac, he was rejected by Gatland for conditioning reasons, whereas Leon is more of an athlete.
He doesn't look as athletic as Leon. That would be my view. But it was something that I was thinking about today.
No, it's a fair point. Let's talk about the new signings then. So, when we made these new signings, at the time there was a bit of buzz from supporters. I think we was all pretty happy with these signings. And what I'm noticing lately, I don't know if you are as well, Dan, because I know you're active on social media on the forums. There's a lot of negativity now. The enthusiasm seems to have dipped. Now, I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because of pre-season results. Maybe people are looking at the other regions' recruitment. But I've noticed now there's been a change. So let's go through them quickly. So we got Solomon Funaki, who is currently injured, but he's due to come back in a couple of weeks. We signed him from Monaco Pacifica. Harry Wilson, centre from the Waratahs. Steve Cummins, former Scarlet, very experienced, massive guy. Huge guy from Poe. Shane Lewis-Hughes, me and Gavin are happy with that one from Cardiff. Ollie Burrows from Exeter and Lloyd Evans from Gloucester. And then we got some academy kids that we brought in. So we got Owen Conker, who did really well in pre-season. He's one to look out for. Harry Ford, Owen James and Ollie Woodman. How do you feel then, Dan, about our signings? Are you enthusiastic or are you a bit like everyone else going, I'm not so sure they're going to make an impact?
I suppose we're some people are looking at it. We made our signings quite early.
Yeah,
I
we
think
did.
it's the fact that, and other people are still cited that we're quite late into the off season. They were announcing signings, so I think that's part of the reason why people maybe are not getting so enthused at the moment.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, pretty much every single one of those is going to add high level depth. So they're at the first or second choice.
Yeah.
So I'm quite enthused about it because, again, with yourselves, with Shea Lewis Hughes, I know he hasn't quite kicked on as he probably wanted to himself, but when he broke into the Wales team, he was sharp. He was a real pain in the backside for the opposition, and he I did like the look of him, especially because he was kind of taking a position from one of the Dragons boys, but he's going to get in front of them. But I think so. Certainly with somebody like Cummins, he's experienced. He's, as you say, he's again a massive man. We seem to have signed big men, which we've always seemed to. As I stand on the sidelines and I'm going, why do the opposition all look huge and we don't? But now I'm starting to look at the players we've got on the pitch, and they're all big lumps. People like Brian Woodman, he's a big lad, and even our backs, the Ackerman he's again a very big lad. So is Joe Westwood. They're all, so they all have to be big physical specimens these days, and we seem to have started to sign a few of them. But I'm also quite glad we've got somebody like Lloyd coming in as a fly half to give not only a bit of a push for Will Reed, but also that backup, and then obviously we've got Angus as well, and Kai as an option at fly half, just to give Will that a bit of competition in training as well.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing. He's been in that environment in Gloucester for a while, so it's that. I think people forget that it's not they train week in, week out, or day in, day out against each other. And if you've got a bigger squad and got a better squad, training gets harder. The people you're playing against are better, and that improves performance on the weekend. So they all add depth. So I think it's all a good thing. But I don't know whether you're going to mention it later, but I thought I'd bring it in now. My biggest signing of the season is Philo.
I knew you'd say that. Philo to your tier. Yeah.
Yep. Without a doubt.
Excellent.
Possibly and also I'll pop in there Reece Blumberg as well. I think with the fact we've managed to get somebody like Reece to come in to head up and to drive forward, we'll only get better on the pitch if we get better off it.
Yeah, he's been on the pod as well, Reece Blumberg. Very impressive guy. Got a very good track record. Did great work at Cardiff, didn't he? I think you're right about the fly-off sign as well, because I was worried that Will Reed was going to suffer from Sam Davis syndrome. So I really like Sam Davis, but he had no competition whatsoever, and he was playing week in, week out too much, heavy burden on his shoulders, and his performances were dipping as a result. And I saw that with Will Reed. He's a young man, but we put a lot of pressure and burden on his shoulders because Kai was injured, Angus was injured. There's no one else giving him competition. I mean, he played far too many minutes, Will Reed, more than what he should have. So I'm hoping now they'll ease the pressure off him a little bit,
Yeah, and I'm sure if Dai had the choice, he wouldn't have played so many minutes, but there was nobody else. And to be fair, it's not as if Will is one of the small guys, and I was constantly worried because he doesn't pull out the tackles. He's for a little lad, he don't half it hard.
No,
and he doesn't back out of anything. And so there were times last season I was going, I was watching through my fingers.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So, Gav, how do you feel about the signings now? Because, like I said, when we announced these signings, and Dan made a really good point, I think we announced 3 or 4 signings in 1 week, didn't we? We announced it very short, and I remember supporters of other regions were saying, when are we going to start announcing signings?
It was Funaki, Wilson and Steve Cummins.
That's right.
All within a couple of days of each other.
Yeah.
And it was also the re-signings as well, which were equally as important with Wayno.
Yeah, Wayno, like particularly, and Tane, Yeah,
that's another good point before I go on to the recruitment mind. The retainment, that we have kept Rio Day and Wainwright. Because I don't know about you, Dan, I thought Wainwright was on his way.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone would have blamed him, to be honest. I think he's given great loyal service to the Dragons. He's I think he's a world-class player. But we've kept hold of him for another 2 years, but we've got to start repaying that by putting in more wins, isn't it? But anyway, Gav, coming back to the recruitment now, has your opinion on the players that we've signed changed in any way? Because I've noticed some supporters now are starting to backtrack on our signing. So are you still enthused by them?
Well, I kind of two lines to this, really. Firstly, for reasons I don't quite understand, I've decided to get into the NFL. And one of the things I find it quite interesting in the NFL, they have like depth charts. So there'll be like your first choice quarterback, second, third, fourth, fifth. And you can see where teams are by looking at depth charts. Well, if we do a depth chart to where we are now to where we were last season, well, it's better. We got better options in the second row. We got better options in the back row. We got better options at 10. We've got better options in the second row and centres. So, yeah, they've improved the team. This is all on paper yet, but we haven't seen them play. But also, these are quality players. So Sam Larner, who's been on the pod, Sam Larner talks about Moneyball signings.
Yeah.
The idea that these are guys who are low cost but high value, and I think we've done that. We've got a bloke who's highly recommended in Australian rugby and has come to us because he wants to be playing every week, which he wasn't getting at the Waratahs. Cummins, isn't world beating, but he brings weight and ballast to the side. Funaki, I saw someone saying, he's unproven.
Yeah, I saw that comment as well.
Folks got a pile of international caps and they've played 50-odd games in Super Rugby.
I know. I did make that point.
I'm going to suggest that's not unproven. That's that's decent level of rugby.
Yeah.
And kind of the outside off Lloyd Evans is like the one I was unsure about, but what I've seen of him now, I quite like. He gives us a bit of game management.
He was popular at Gloucester. You speak to Gloucester fans, mind, he was highly rated there, Lloyd Evans, and he can play full back as well. So he's quite handy player.
I'm quite so. And I think I don't know what people want. I really, we've got a limited budget. We aren't getting Sayakilisi, are we? We aren't Munster. We aren't getting Snyman to come to us.
No, we're not going to go and sign Antoine Dupont to go and play outside centre because he fancies there.
As much as Newport is a lovely city, we aren't drawing the big stars to come and play for us. So we've got to be realistic, and I think we've done a good, decent job. And Dan's absolutely right. What we've done off the field is equally impressive. Philo. I know he's beloved down in West Wales, but also well respected as a coach, and Dr. Ryan Chambers as well. That's a quality bit of recruitment. So I think we've done sensible stuff there. And then, like you both said, the youngsters we've got coming through, Owen Conker from Ebervale, big physical number 8. Ryan Woodman, and now his brother, who appears to be about 17 foot tall despite being 18. There's a lot of young players we're going to bring through. And let's be realistic. What do people want? We aren't going to finish 8th, are we? We aren't going to finish in the playoff.
Well, we're going to talk about that in a bit where we come on to our... I ran a poll about this. No, that's fine. We will talk about it now a bit. I'm going to expand on your point, Gav. I do think some of our supporters need to start being a bit more realistic about the expectations of the team and the players that we can sign. We are one of the weakest teams in URC. We do have a very limited budget. I would love us to go out and sign world-class tight heads, locks and ball carriers, but we can't. We simply can't. So I'm happy with the recruitment. I think given everything, the constraints in Welsh rugby, where we are as a team, I'm happy with our recruitment. But can we give these guys a chance first before we start saying, they're a bit average, they're not getting game time? Why do people say that, by the way? He wasn't first choice. Well, who cares? As long as he comes here and makes an impact, he plays well for us. I don't care if Steve Cummins wasn't first choice in Po. That means nothing to me.
To use
what do you think, Dan? Sorry, go
Yeah,
on.
oh,
What was you saying?
go,
I'm
go,
just
go.
going to say, to use football an example, I know lots of Arsenal supporters who I discovered as well. Di Flanagan's an Arsenal supporter I
Yes.
discovered this weekend. But I know lots of Arsenal supporters, and I can remember, because I'm old, when they signed Thierry Henry, two of my friends were saying, why are we signing the bloke who can't get in the Juventus team?
Yeah, I remember that.
I said, you know, and now he's fated. He's one of the gods of Arsenal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Stan, what was you going to say?
See, like Sam, Steve Cummins, yeah.
Steve Cummins, yeah.
Steve
Hey,
Cummins.
Steve, sorry.
Yeah, the lock from Poe,
Um,
yeah.
Yeah, because when you came from Poe, didn't and they got one of the white locks there, and they got like
He's retired now, but they did have Sam Lock. Well, yeah, he would have been there with him there, yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't as if he was third choice lock for for against a nobody. He was up against an All Black legend.
Yeah.
but it's I think you're correct, Jamie, in that I think there's a little bit of realization is needed by some supporters in Welsh rugby.
Yeah.
As part of the supporters club, I joined the joint supporters group with the meetings with the WIU.
Yeah.
And I get a bit of an insight into a bit more, certainly around the money side of it and how difficult it is at the moment. What I will say is from my my presence at some of these meetings is that there is an absolute desire for change in the WRU and to drive that the revenues up. So I know we had the $4.5 million budget for this season, but there is an absolute desire to get that funding increased to make us more competitive, because we are definitely stuck behind the eight ball for against some of our league rivals. So the union-owned teams tend to be able to chuck a bit of extra cash here and there because they can, and why wouldn't you? But then success breeds more success and better funding, and you get competition money, and etc., etc. So we are in a difficult place, but I think we certainly in the Dragons have got the right people behind us, and we've got the people driving us in the right direction. I think the change in the WRU will come to fruition. It may take a little bit longer than we would probably like, but we can't underestimate the enormous job they've got to turn things around there. Just
no,
everything is basically needed to be picked up by his ankles and shook until everything fell out. And I think Abitini's got an incredibly tough job, but I've been quite impressed in the initial meetings with it. So
I was going to ask you about this, Dan, because you've been involved with the Joint Sports Group for a little while now. So you would have spoken to the previous regime at the WRU. How did this new regime with Abby Tierney and Richard Collier compare to the previous regime? Do you feel there's more of a collaborative approach there and a real desire for change?
Yes. Possibly got to be careful how I phrase this. In the previous couple of regimes, shall we say, it's always felt like a parent-child relationship, whereas now it seems much more collaborative. It's much more. There's 5 entities that need to get professional rugby going, rather than one overarching and casting the crumbs off the table to the others. There seems to be a genuine desire to pull it up by its bootstraps, and there is, as I said, it's more the cultural stuff that is grabbing the headlines, and rightly so.
Yeah.
But behind the scenes, there's also the little bit more work with the PRB, which I think David Buttress was there. I think he's having a well-deserved rest from that. And now everything's crossed the line. So I think David Wright is now going to. Yeah, David Wright's going to is the representative at the moment, and everything I've heard about David Wright is, and again, it's another very impressive, successful man that's got Welsh rugby and Gwent rugby at his heart, and his desire to get us there. coincidentally, I think he was playing scrum half when Pontypool played New Zealand.
Yeah, he had a very good rugby career as well, didn't he? Played for Newbridge and quite a few clubs. Before my time, obviously. Gav, you must remember David, right, do you?
I do, yeah. He was Newbridge and Pontypool, and not Newport, someone else. He'll come to me.
Leicester, I think he played for as well. Am I right?
Yeah.
I'm sure he played for Leicester, yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely seen him play a couple of times. Having watched both Pooler and
89,
Newbridge.
I think. 89, I think he was playing. He played because we were all. I was in school at the time. Obviously, we were all ready to go down to Poole Park to watch Dybish, have a bit of fun against New Zealand. And it was David Wright. Now, obviously, we're very, very glad to.
It's funny how things work out, isn't it? It's funny how things do.
Yeah. God, yeah. I realise how old I am when I think back of
I wasn't hinting you was old, Gav, but I knew you'd remember him in his playing days. That's all I'm saying.
I'm not young, Jamie. I think we're fair to accept that.
Okay, so let's talk about some polling that I did then, because I was very keen to get supporters' reaction to this. I ran a poll on the Dragons Facebook forums, as you know, Dan, because I put one on the official Supporters Club Dragons forum, then I did one on the one that I run. I'm an admin on the Dragons RFC supporters group. And I asked people to vote on where they think the Dragons will finish. I don't think the results are entirely unsurprising, but they are interesting. So, which position do you think came top? Where do you think most people said we'd finish? Have a guess.
14th.
Yeah.
Dan?
Same. Yeah, probably say 14th.
You are both correct. 33% of supporters think that we'll finish 14th in the URC table, which is where I think we'll finish, and we'll talk a bit more about that later. 20% of supporters think we'll finish 16th. So rock bottom was the second popular option in this poll. 12% of supporters think we'll finish 15th. 12% of supporters think we'll finish 13th. 8% think we'll finish 12th. We're getting into proper optimistic territory here. 6%.
I want some one-day drinking.
6% think we'll finish 11th. And 6% think we'll finish in the top 10. I mean, there's optimism, and then there's, so that's all I'll say about that.
For that 6%, I admire your sunny side up disposition. Yes. And if I could borrow some of that, that would be great.
Indeed. So that was the poll that I ran. Thank you to everyone who voted, by the way. Really appreciate it. I'm going to put it to you now, Dan. I want you to tell me where you think the Dragons are going to finish in the URC table.
I think 14th as well. My main hope is that we're not bottom Welsh team. I think that's a realistic target, and if we do that, I think we'll be 14th. All I actually want is us to be just not necessarily closer in games, because I think a lot of games last season were quite close. It's those odd games where we got absolutely blown away. Or as I think Brian mentioned, we play for 60 and then get blown out of the water. So it's that. That's why I think 14th is a realistic one. I suspect Scarlets will be the ones that we're fighting with, because I think Cardiff have done some good recruitment, and the Ospreys are they've got that depth in their pack that they can grind out wins where they probably.
Yeah, that's the advantage they have over the other three teams. I said this on the Wrap pod a couple of weeks ago. They've got the pack, haven't they, to compete against the top teams, those big physical Irish and South African packs. Gav, I'm going to put it to you now. URC, where do you think Dragons will finish?
14th.
Yeah.
Above Zebra, above Scarlets.
Above the Scarlets?
Yeah, I think Scarlets will come 15th. And I'm like Dan.
I'm with Gav on that.
That's the only way we're finishing higher than that, because I don't think we're finishing above Sharks. I don't think we're finishing above Connacht. But I think we can finish third in the Welsh Shield, and that would mean 14th for me.
You know we're going to get absolute grief from Scarlets fans for this now.
Fine.
Who cares? They've updated their front five. Mind, they've bossed it. They made some interesting signings.
I think they've recruited well.
Yeah,
I think they've recruited well, but I really don't like their backline. And people will tell me I'm insane.
They've got some good youngsters though. They got Max Page. They got Joe Roberts. They got some really dangerous.
I I like Joe Roberts, but they've got
Yeah.
two absolute balloons at 10 in Costello and Johan Lloyd, who, do not play structured rugby.
No, that's a bit of a problem. So I'm saying Dragons are going to finish 14th as well. That's my prediction. I have got concerns about tight head. There's the obvious concerns about depth, injuries. I don't know if you noticed this last season, Dan. Every match week, the Dragons will put out an injury list on the website, and every time I looked at it, it was on average 15 players out every week. Now that can't keep happening, and I'm hoping with Ryan Chambers there that our conditioning and our injuries will reduce, because that was something that was really concerning to me, the injuries.
And I think that's an area where there possibly needs to be a whole load of research done. Is how much of it is through training and how much is it through match play itself? Can they target what kind of physical training they do during the week? Is it? I don't know. I think that's probably several PhDs all rolled into one for somebody to get that kind of information out. And I suppose we got the right man in place to look into that kind of research. And I suspect there's been plenty done already. It's just
But if you think about what rugby players are like now, using your boyhood club as an example, Pontypool. If you think about the Pontypool front row of the 70s, early 80s, Graham Price was the biggest British lion on 3 tours, and he weighed less than 15 stone. he was 14 stone 10 in 74 and now 14 stone 10 would make you the lightest player in most teams. Players are putting massive physical strain on their bodies constantly. And that's why we're getting more injuries. And hopefully now we've got a guy who understands that to a scientific level, has a PhD in that stuff, we'll be able to manage it. Can't get rid of it completely, because we're creating racing cars. We aren't creating buses, and racing cars break down more than buses.
Yeah,
exactly. I think there's one of the other bits that for me in that is that will rugby need to have a look at it as well? Is it the fact that we've got? I know this is probably going to open up a massive can of worms elsewhere as well, but it's too many substitutes. If you only have a substitute for injuries, but then how are you going to police that? If they can't go off after 50 minutes, you can't have a complete change of the front row and another 2 forwards, then they have to stay on for longer. They have to be fitter. They have to be more aerobically capable.
I think I would go the other way, Dan, like rugby league does, and have an interchange, because rugby league players have become exponentially larger, and they've realised the only way they can manage that fitness is by running them in 20-minute bursts, some of them.
Yeah, there's interesting points. Maybe that's for another time, I think. But
I tell you, a different pod.
Yes, I tell you what does concern me. Everyone talks about the front 5 being a weakness, and we've always had this issue at the Dragons, haven't we, for a long time. Cardiff in the same position, Scarlets, we've suffered from having weak front 5s. I am more concerned about the attack than the front 5. I think that is going to be our biggest Achilles heel. I don't know if you knew this, Dan, but Dragons had the worst attack in the URC statistically. We were ranked 16th, which I did tell Dave Flanagan about, and I did mention a load of other stats about defenders beaten, line breaks, and all the rest of it. Now, I watched the game against Bath on Friday. We were dogging in defence. There was loads of positive to take out of it. We did frustrate the full-strength Bath. However, our attack is absolute pants. We barely got into Bath's 22. When we did, we spilled the ball. We got turned over. I'm really concerned about our attack, and I think Dave Flanagan and Matt O'Brien really need to work hard to try and make our attack click. Because at the moment, it's not clicking, and I have got concerns about our attack. Gav, do you share the same concerns as me?
Yeah, it's pedestrian, Jamie, is the way that I would use it. Like I said, I watched the second half of the Bath game.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was watching, as I mentioned a lot, I play and coach at a very low level of rugby, but it didn't look massively different to some of the stuff I see on the weekend. One-up runners, no real movement off the ball carriers, kind of just coming round the fringes in 1s and 2s, and then It just lacked any kind of impetus, lacked any kind of go forward. And it wasn't down to the forwards, so I thought put in a decent shift. We don't seem to have anything off 10. We aren't running anything interesting off 10.
Yeah. And we got good backs. We got dangerous backs, Rio Dyer, but we don't bring them into play enough. We there's no cutting edge to our attack. Dan, are you worried about that as well? What, or if not, what other areas of our game concern you the most? Because I'm going to put out there now, might be an unpopular opinion. I am more concerned about our attack than the front five. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think I agree with the assessment of watching the Bath game on my phone. But it seemed defensively we were putting in a good shift. We were making tackles. We were frustrated Bath, but as I said, something's not clicking, or there's no. It's pre-season. That's when you try stuff out. That's when you try and do the moves, do the overload one side.
But we weren't trying anything up. That's the problem.
It was one up. It was one up. Crash ball, up you go. Try and recycle it. But then equally, when we send that person up, we weren't right on them to clear out the ruck. So then they get the turnover. So we'd make a couple of meters gained and then immediately get a penalty against us. And we've lost it. So I think we usually, as quite good at the broken field stuff, because we have players like Rio. Yeah. But just the structured stuff just we don't seem to know what to do after the phase 2.
Yeah, it's a real concern, isn't it? We have got a really tricky block of opening fixtures. So 4 out of the first 6 games are at home. Now, we had a similar situation last season, if you remember, and we only won one of those when we beat the Ospreys. So we got the Ospreys this Saturday. We'll get onto that later. We got to go away to Leinster. I mean, it's never a good time to be playing Leinster, but I have to say, I'd rather play them now, getting them out the way early, and we don't have to face Geordie Barrett. So I'm actually pleased that we are playing them at that time, get them out of the way. Then we got 3 fixtures at home, 3 consecutive fixtures, and these are massive games. Sharks first up, then the Lions, then Benetton. So out of those games, what's the realistic target of wins that we should be aiming for when we got Ospreys, Sharks, Lions, and Benetton? Now, on paper, that's a very tough run of games, isn't it? But we are at home. I don't expect the Sharks or the Lions to be putting out full strength squads because of Rugby Championship and Currie Cup and other stuff. What would be the realistic target, do you think, out of those 4 home games? How many wins do you think we should expect?
2.
2?
Yeah.
Dan?
Yeah, I'm probably going with that as well. I'd hope we would be at least close enough in 1 or 2 of the others to get a bonus point, maybe, or you never know if the attack clicks. We might get a trade bonus point. But I think 2. And the thing is, I'm not entirely certain which 2.
It all depends.
I'd love it to be Ospreys just because of local bragging rights. But
of course,
it all depends on which South African teams turn up. Because it's like when the Ospreys beat the Sharks at Twickenham, Sharks fans, friends of mine, didn't know half the guys who were playing for Sharks. So, if that kind of team turns up, then we stand a chance. If it's a Sharks team for the South African internationals, it's a different game, isn't it?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that first block is going to tell us a lot about the Dragons. I think it's going to tell us whether there's genuine signs of improvement, if we've learned anything from last season, or whether it's going to be the same old Dragons. I really do think that's going to set up the season, because that's what happened last season, wasn't it? We never really recovered from that first block. We bolstered up against Edinburgh, a game we should have won.
And Cardiff.
And Cardiff, we was well in the fight. Not the game at the Arms Park, obviously.
No, we don't talk about that.
No, we try not to. But we got to start winning these home games, and that first block is so important. Let's have a look at Europe then, Challenge Cup. Now, I've said on the Rat Pod, I think all 4 teams should be targeting Challenge Cup, because I think that's our only realistic chance of success for the Welsh teams to have, because we're not going to get in the URC, let's be honest. So, who do we have in the Challenge Cup? We have Montpellier and Pau at home, but these are the killer ones, the away games. We have to go to Newcastle, and then we have to go to Johannesburg to face the Lions, which is a real shitter because... Look, I understand playing South Africans in the URC, that's one thing, that's fine. But going all that way just to play one cup game. I really don't like having the South Africans in European competition. I gotta be honest, I really don't.
No, and the other part of it for me is that's possibly the worst teams we could have picked out of that group as well. In that in the fixtures that we have. I mean, I'm looking at it from a supporter's perspective that I like to go for the European away games. So I got a choice of either trying to fly to South Africa.
Fancy that, Dan? Trip to Johannesburg?
Well, yeah. I don't think my wife would be too happy about me going there. And Newcastle. No offense to Newcastle. I know it's a pretty good party town, but Sunday afternoon. Newcastle.
I am considering going to that Newcastle game, but yes,
I am
just because I've got
friends
up there.
Back.
Yeah, just because I've got friends up there. But I'm thinking the fly from Gatwick. But
I did have a little look. There is a flight up and back on the same day, but I might, whether or not again I can do that. But it is I think we can certainly look at. Well, the other thing is we seem to play section Paroise every season at the moment, and we seem to, I think it's his third season in a row.
Yeah.
I know it would be nice. Oh, at least we haven't got Black Lion and Scarlet's got them again. So.
Yeah, Steve Cummins facing his old club so soon. I bet you wouldn't expect that, wasn't he?
Yeah.
It's tough. That's a tough group,
it is.
isn't it? Montpellier have been in the Champions Cup recently. Pau are a good side. They don't travel well, but they're a good side. Lions in Johannesburg.
I suppose that's the only benefit we've got. We've got both French teams coming here. So
yes.
So I suspect by the time Pau come over, they'll know whether or not they need to be fighting for top 14 or whether or not they need to be.
Yeah. It's better to play French clubs at home early in the competition because they don't play the full strength squads in the early rounds of the Challenge Cup. So that's good. But it's just those away games. Newcastle is winnable. That'll be an interesting game. But it's the travel factor. I just wonder if Di Flanagan will just chuck a reserve squad out, put a load of kids out there. I guess it depends if it's a must-win game or not. But it's a real killer for us.
It is the last game. So if we're kind of safely in that top 4 over the 6.
I think it's 6 out of 8, isn't it? We got.
Or was it? I did have it up earlier on. Yeah, it's pools of 6 in the top 4.
Oh, it is. Right. Okay.
There's 4 from each of the 3 pools.
You're right.
And then 4 drop down from the Champions Cup. That's the other thing as well. It's the structure of the European game is all over the shop. Needs to have a serious think about how to be more.
More structured and
more attractive to fans. Yes, obviously the Champions Cup gets all that.
Okay, so next on the block rather, where are we going to finish in the Challenge Cup? I predicted last 16 on the Rat Pod last night. I think we will make the knockout stages, but I think we'll probably end up with an away game, and we all know what Dragons are like on the road, so that'll be quite. We all remember what happened in Glasgow a couple of years ago, don't we? I
was there.
Oh, you was there? Oh, no.
Yeah. Still, Glasgow's a nice town to go out in, so
Where are we going to finish it down the Challenge Cup? How far do you
think I think you're right. It does depend on how we get on with the French teams at home. If we are that 4th position in the table, then yes, I think last 16. If we can get a couple of wins and we can get a bit further up the table, and we get the potential of not necessarily a home game, but even if it's an away game against a Challenge Cup team rather than one of the Champions Cup teams coming down. I think that's the way it works, isn't it? The 4 that come down. It'll probably end up being something like Toulouse that have messed up, and they come down, and we'll be away to Toulouse in the last 16 of the Challenge Cup. I will go away to that one now.
Oh, definitely. That's a lovely trip. Gav, where are we going to finish in the Challenge Cup?
Last 16. Yeah, I think we'll win. I think we'll win 2 home games. That'll be enough to get us 4th place, and then we'll probably end up Saracens away or something.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So next question then. What would a successful season look like for the Dragons? You touched on this a little bit earlier down with targets. So these are my targets. I've got not finishing bottom Welsh region. I've got us not finishing bottom 2 in URC. I got us winning a couple of games on the road because we didn't win a single away game last year, and that can't continue. I'm sorry. We got to be better on the road. We need to get the Cardiff Monkey off our back because that's gone on for too long now, and qualify for the knockout stages of the Challenge Cup. All those targets I've mentioned, I don't know about you, I think that's a realistic and achievable targets. So what would yours be then, Dan, for the season?
I pretty much in line with yours, but I think I don't want to put a figure on, but I wouldn't like us to see us lose games by large margins, and I don't quite know what that large margin would be. So we're consistently competitive, that we don't fall off tackles in the last 20. So I think just to be, you don't want to be within a score going into the last 15 and then you end up losing by 25 points. It's that kind of...
Yeah. It's the manner of defeat, isn't it? It's not just the defeats, it is the manner. I mean, at least with Cardiff, they won the same amount of games as us in all competitions, but they were competitive and they picked up bonus points. That's kind of what we want to see, don't we? We want to see us pick up bonus points against...
we want to be difficult to beat. I want to see us being difficult to beat. So I want teams to go away from Rodney Parade, go in, Christ, that was hard. I'm going to be sore in the morning.
It used to be like that years ago, though, Dan, to be fair.
Yeah.
It really did, and it's lost that over the years. And even Lloyd Faber has said that. I have a couple of guests have said, haven't they, Gav, on our pod, that Rodney Parade was always a tough place, and it's lost that. I don't know, it's lost something, isn't it? It's not that horrible place it used to be years ago. When I first started coming to Rodney Parade.
It's too nice.
Yeah,
it's too nice on the business side, that's the problem.
Well, that's where I am, so I can't complain too much.
It's a gentrification of Newport.
Gav, what about you then? What are your targets? What do you want to see from the Dragons this season?
Much the same, I think. Finish above 15th.
Yeah.
That would be, no more ambition there. Not last in Wales. Last 16 of the Challenge Cup. And games we do lose to be competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not asking for the moon on a stick. I just want a competitive side.
No, that's fair enough. We had a comment today sent to us from Gareth Leclerc, who said, if we finish 14th, I would be happy. Tangible improvement. If we win a couple more home games and pick up more losing bonus points on the road, I'll be happy. It's a very tough league. Beyond the other regions, who could we overtake? Now, that's part of the problem, isn't it? When you're predicting Dragons to finish high up the table or, a couple of places higher, you got to think, and I made this point to Lee last night, I said the thing is, I think he had Dragons in 9th. And I said to him, which was very fanciful, and I said, look, Lee, you got to think, if you're putting Dragons up that high, who are the teams below us? Like, Zebra, yes. Scarlets, probably, maybe. I don't know. Cardiff, I don't think so. Connacht, no. The Sharks are not going to be nowhere near as bad as they were last season. Trust me, they have recruited Khaleesi, Andre Estes, and they've recruited really well. They will be improved. Benetton, no. Edinburgh, no. It's really hard to see who we can overtake as well, isn't it? And it is a very, very tough league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
I'll go back.
Oh, sorry, go on, Dan.
That's what I said. We are, again, fighting with one hand tied behind our back half the time because of the budget. I mean, and then that's kind of, if you look at the budget, the 4 Welsh teams should be bottom 4. Zebra got a high budget. Benetton definitely got a much higher budget. So if you're going on pure budget, we should be all 4 should be the bottom 4.
Connacht have got a similar budget, but that's about it.
Yeah. I mean,
Zebras isn't much higher than ours, or but that's it. There's 4 Welsh regions in Connacht and Zebra, and everyone else is on a slightly different playing field. And then Leinster and Munster are on entirely different playing fields.
It's tough, isn't it? A couple of other comments. Nathan said, it's finishing above one of the other Welsh sides at the end of the day. None of us can predict what difference new signings will make. Yes, quite right. As we've seen very little of them in pre-season, I still think we are a prop and second row light. Yeah, probably. I'd agree with that. And then Mike says, let's hope all 4 regions do far better this year. No, Mike. No, actually, I'm gonna push back. No, I'm gonna be serious. I'm gonna be push back.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't want
I agree.
the other three to do well. I don't want all four regions to do well. I want us to do well, because if we are gonna climb up the ladder, if we're not gonna be the worst team in Wales, we need the others to come down. So no, Mike, I don't want the other three to do well. Sorry, I know that's the popular narrative that we all want to see the Welsh teams do well. I'm going to be selfish and say no.
Yeah,
But
I've never understood that.
no, neither do I.
Because if I was as a child and as a youth going down to Pontypool Park, there's no way I'd want Newport to win.
No,
I don't want them. And if I was for Halloween against Aberystwyth, there's no way I'd want Halloween to win. Yeah, something like that. But it's that kind of I don't get your nearest neighbours are surely your biggest rivals.
Yeah. Exactly the same. I don't get that. Like, when I was when I was a kid and I was watching Ebbw Vale, I didn't look at Pontypool's results and go, oh, great, they won. I didn't want them to do well.
No, exactly. It's the same with it's probably Newbridge is probably the one more with Pontypool. I'd never, because obviously Paul Turner was playing for them as well. But it's I don't want my closest rivals to be winning when I want them to be further. I want to be at the bottom of the table.
Yeah, and it was like Cross Keys and Tredegar for us as well. Like, I didn't. Oh, great, Cross Keys won. I didn't want Cross Keys to win.
Yeah,
no, definitely not.
And it's the same. And like, if Ospreys are playing an English team, I'll want Ospreys to win. But I don't care less if
they both lose.
But when it comes to playing Benetton, I don't care less. Whatever result suits us better.
I'm kind of the same as you guys. So in the European competition, I don't mind seeing the other Welsh regions do well, especially like against an English team. But as far as I'm concerned in the URC, no, I don't want to see Cardiff do well. Certainly not them. I don't want to see Scarlets do well, and I don't want to see Ospreys do well. I respect the Ospreys, but I don't see them do well because we won't move up the table.
My father-in-law's a Cardiff supporter.
Oh, that must be hard work.
yeah. But whisper it quietly. He's from the Gay.
Well, that's not so bad. Look how many Ospreys fans. Look how many Ospreys fans are in Gwent. Gav, you know that, don't you? Loads of Ospreys fans in Gwent.
My dad was an Ospreys fan. Bloke played for Tredegar for 14 years. Like, wound up as an Ospreys fan.
Cool and trendy, though, isn't it? Sport the Ospreys. They had all the Welsh internationals, and the Dragons have always been unfashionable, though, haven't they?
I don't understand it. It's like, we're from you. Why are you supporting them?
Yeah, and we called out Steph, didn't we, on the last pod? He's from he's a Gwent boy, New Jiga, and he's supporting Scarlets and
to be fair,
rugby.
To be fair, from he's from Volcrew, Steph is, but so arguably should be Cardiff, but it's definitely not Scarlets territory.
No, and Squidge rugby to be a Dragons fan, and he knows it. He knows it, but he chose Ospreys.
Robbie's grandparents overlook the training ground. They live dress up the road in Astramanach, Ospreys, and I don't get. You go out to. I'm sure it's the same for you, Dan. I don't know where you live now, but when I go out in Ebbw Vale, the number of Osprey shirts I see far outweighs the number of Dragon shirts I see.
I live in Cardiff though, so.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, thank you to the listeners who sent in those comments. Right, let's look ahead to Saturday then before we wrap up. Dragons versus Ospreys. What a game to kick off the new season. Game is live on Premier Sports. The referee is Ben Breakspear. Some team news that came out this week. So Elliot Dee and Tane Basham are not available for this game. They've been ruled out, sadly. We've got a few injuries and niggles, I'm afraid, on this one. Dimitri Arhip, Alan Wainwright, Ollie Griffiths, Solomon Funaki are out. Lloyd Evans, Kai Evans and Rodrigo Martinez came off against Bath, but Di said that was a precaution. They should be okay. We've got a good record against the Ospreys at Rodney Parade. There's something about this fixture that brings out the best of us. And how many times have they come down here fully loaded with star players, even in the Galactico days, and they've come a cropper? There's something about Rodney Parade that they just don't like. How are we feeling about this one, Dan? Ospreys coming to town.
Not as confident as I have in previous years because of what you mentioned. It always used to be... Not a nice way to phrase it, but we'd always bring them down to our level.
No, you're right. That's what we should be doing, actually. If we would win more games, if we actually drag teams down to our level.
But I think, desperately wanted to win it.
Yeah.
But I think there's just that little bit too much strength and depth for them. I think unless that attacking play, clicks, and we start stretching them and getting them moving about, we're going to struggle. But first game of the season, I don't know how the Ospreys have been getting on in their pre-season. I don't know if anyone's had a look.
Yeah, they've done well. They played like an Origin game, so they played the local teams. They won
yes,
that,
they did, yes.
the feeder clubs, which you'd expect, to be
They
honest.
played
That they won
Bridgend, didn't
Exeter. Yeah, they played Bridgend, Swansea, Aberafon, but they did get a very good win away at Exeter Chiefs. In fairness, that was a very good win. Found a way, as Toby Booth or Ted Lasso likes to say.
Not a strong Exeter team, no.
Oh, I don't know. I think it was pretty decent. I don't think it was full strength. I
No.
do think it was a decent Exeter team. It's a tough place to go, but it is only pre-season in fairness, so you can't read too much into it.
I
Gav, how
think
do you feel about it? Oh, go on, Dan.
Yeah. So I think with a bit of a test we've had at Bath, I think that might bring us in good stead. And we've had a good knockout there. We've had a good bit of warm up.
Yeah,
and hoping we'll hit the ground running. So
it feels like we're battle hardened for this game, whereas maybe Ospreys, they play less pre-season, so there is a possibility they may come into this undercooked. That's what we hope, but it's going to be a very tough game. Gav, how do you feel about the Ospreys come to town? Because when we look at these teams, and we did it last season, we looked at it, we thought Ospreys should win that, didn't we? When we saw the team sheets, and we beat them quite comfortably in the end. Yes, I know they had Matt Prothero sent off, but even still, we were by far the best team. So how do you feel about it?
I think we've got to play sensibly. So what I would do is not play to their strengths. So I'd keep the ball on the field as much as possible because their maul is powerful. Their line-out is strong. Their set piece is good. I'd keep the ball on the field as much as possible. And I would just try to play wider and play a bit more creative out wide to force them to defend on their fringes, which isn't a strength for this, and not get involved in a dogfight. Because listening to Rap this week, and James was saying about Osprey's strength isn't they play creative rugby now. They just love a scrap. So we can't get into a scrap with them. We've just got to keep it away from them, keep away from mauls, keep the ball out of our 22 as much as possible, and we can win it.
Dan, anything to add to
that? Keeping hold of the ball, though, might be the thing we've struggled with. Is Kai Evans and Angus, are they fitting in, or are they
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, so they came off against Bath as a precaution, but they should be okay. We're hoping that it looks likely that they will play, but they were taken off as a precaution, nothing serious.
I'm just thinking that even though we want to keep it on the field, those two, if whoever's going to be playing fullback, will be vital for keeping Ospreys in their 22.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they both got monstrous boots. Let's just keep on turning them, keep on making them play position.
I would just shove into corners, not necessarily, and just quick defensive line, make them play all their rugby in their 22, keep them out of our 22, and you can win games like that. It's not pretty, and fans will be saying, why are they kicking it so much?
Because that's how you win a game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, to be fair, we had Jumbo on the pod explaining why, didn't we? Remember, we asked him about it, and we had Sam Lana, your friend, very knowledgeable guy and analytic. We've had people on this podcast explaining why players kick. So if you still don't understand by now and you've listened to the pod, then we can't help you. Quite frankly, we can't help you anymore. Sorry, Dan, what was you going to say then?
I said, growing up watching Pontypool, I was happy to watch 70 minutes of an arm wrestle for then just get a few quick tries at the end when the opposition was battered and bruised.
But I
like a 3-0 win is just as good as anything.
It's a win, isn't it?
Yeah, no one in the age either of us saw, Dan, but we can both remember when Gwent Rugby was that, wasn't it? When big rolling mauls and just hard men, basically. Can you remember Frank Jackas playing at Pontypool?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he was a Tredegar player, and I could watching him as a kid. That was Gwent Rugby, just big hard men running into each other.
Did you see Dave Flanagan's comments today talking about that we need to have a Gwent identity? He's talked about having a Gwent way, being tough and compromising. And Lloyd Fairbrother told us this as well, Gav, on the pod, didn't he?
Yeah.
He felt that we lost our Gwent grit and identity. Do you feel that way as well, Dan?
A little, yeah. It's like we mentioned earlier on. We used to be tough to beat. We used to be niggly,
At Rodney Parade,
At Rodney Parade, it'd be a horrible place to come. We'd be in people's faces all the time. Just like when we beat the Ospreys when they had like Mike Phillips and James Hook, and all the Galacticos, and they would come and we turn them over.
Yeah,
and they hated it. But I think so. I think we need to get a bit more. Well, hopefully the players we've signed, the bigger, more aggressive, sort of abrasive players that we've signed, hopefully they'll start to come back. And the size difference I've seen in Ben Carter since he had his
he's bulked up big. He has. He really has.
He's been sticking away the chicken breast and
What's your thoughts, Dan, on him becoming captain? Because me and Gav talked about it last week. Now, we didn't see that coming. We thought it was going to be Steph Hughes, Harry Keddy, or George Knott, or Rodri. I think it's a good move. I think it's a good call because that should bring him out of his shell and develop him a bit more. What do you think about that?
I think that's a good point. I think there is a strong group of leaders in that playing squad. I think like Steph Hughes seemed to, when he first came in, it was just straight away you could see there's a leader. He's got what it takes to bring the players together, and they respect what he's saying, what he's doing.
Yeah.
But he's still there. He's still in that leadership group, and to then bring in somebody like Carter to be that figurehead of a captain, it could be the making of him. It could be the thing that brings him out of his shell. When he first started, he was Mr. No errors, wouldn't he? He wouldn't miss a tackle. He'd be hitting rucks. He just nothing spectacular, but he'd just be doing the job we want him to do. And if this brings him out a little bit more, even better. And I suspect there might be a little bit of you're club captain now. Next time the contract negotiations come up, remember that you're club captain.
Maybe that's part of the reason why, if we're being cynical, maybe that is a reason why, to try and.
But also, I suspect Flanagan isn't going to name him captain if he doesn't think he's going to be good at it. Because as you've spoken to he's got a head on his shoulders. He's very much a people person. He's very much likes to get into how people think, and I think he wouldn't do that if he didn't think Ben Carter was more than capable of stepping up and being that leader on the field.
No, I agree. Yeah, I completely agree. He's one of those players that's undervalued by people outside the Dragons. Other regions, supporters of other regions don't rate him at all, and it really annoys me because I think he's a fantastic talent. I guarantee you, and I keep making this point, if he played for Cardiff, Scarlets or Ospreys, he played for any other three teams, he would be more hyped up and more rated than he is with us. And that's disappointing in some ways, but I think he's a big talent. We're big fans of Ben Carter, Gavin, we on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think he's going to become a great player because he's young, and second row, being a young second row, you still haven't quite got that kind of gnarly, kind of extra level of armor that the older players have got, and he's developing that quickly, I think.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I think he's possibly not as aggressive as we'd possibly like him, but then we don't want him to step over the mark.
No, quite right. That's a very good point. Right then, let's wrap this up. Let's make our predictions for Saturday. Come on in, Dan. Who's winning it? Dragons or Ospreys?
Oh, I was going to bite me on the bum, but yeah, Dragons.
Gav?
Dragons by 8.
Okay. Do you want to do a score prediction, Dan? Dragons by how many?
Anywhere from 1 point to 65. that margin. I'll spread bet. It's not my thing. So a point will be fine.
I think you get quite narrow odds on a 64-point spread, if I'm honest.
So I'm gonna go for Dragons by 5. I think it'd be tight. It always is with against the Ospreys, but we do pretty well against them at Rodney Parade, and I think we need to win this one because if we don't, we're going to Leinster off the back of a defeat. That could be painful, and then we got those 3 home games then, and it's going to be very, very tricky. So let's keep our fingers and toes crossed. Dragons get off to a winning start. Right, I think we will wrap it up.
Can we just do our roundup, because we've got quite
I am so sorry. You are quite right.
Yeah.
The Gwent Rugby roundup. I do apologise. I didn't write it in my notes, Gav.
No,
Sorry.
it's fine. We've got a significant result to talk about on it. So, quite a lot, because some of the competitions are 2 weeks, but I will try to rattle through these quite quickly. So, if we start in Super Rugby Cymru, Pontypool opened up, but unfortunately lost 18-21 to Llandovery, but not bad result against former Premiership champions. Ebervale opened with a win, 34-22 against Aberavon, as did Newport, 41-22 at home to Bridgend. In the Premiership, only the one Gwent club in Newbridge, but they've played 2 games and won 2. They started with a 28-15 win away to Llangennech, and then won 26-19 at home against Brecon, so a good strong start there. In the Championship East, 2 weeks of fixtures. So in the first week, Talawine lost 45-7 to Beddau. Brimau and Mount Nash 20-all draw. Penalta beat Bedwas 32-31, and then Anestee lost by the same score, 32-31 to Treorchy. And then in the second week, Brimau, not a great start for Brimau, who had come up strongly from 1 East, lost 33-7 away to Cardiff Rumney. Talawine beat Penalta by 2 points, 31-29, and Bedwas beat Treorchy 54-27. 2 weeks of fixtures in 1 East as well. First week, Blaenavon lost 19-21 at home to Ableri Blaen Gwent, local derby. Monmouth lost 25-29 at home against Abergavenny. And Pontypool United lost 12-29 at home to Newport High School Old Boys. Then the following week, Pontypool United went down to Bedlinog and lost 48. Into 2 East, Abercarn 14, Blackwood 28. Blaenau 42, Garnder 5-0. Good win for Blaenau at home. Horrible place to go and play. And one of the posh Welsh derbies, Caldicot beat Usk 31-17. In the localist of local derbies, Croeso-Ceiliog beat Cwmbran 25-17 at home. Bet some needle in that game. And then Pill Harriers beat Risca 20 points to 12. Going down into 3 East, Abertwsog lost at 26-48 at home to Rumney, again, local derby. The second of the posh Welsh derbies, Killeen beat Chepstow 22-0.
Posh Welsh derbies.
Killeen posh Gwent.
It's lovely.
Yeah, my sister lives in Killeen. It's posh. I always point that out to her. Fleur-de-Lis beat Oakdale 58-12. Machen beat Newport Saracens 26-12. And New Panteg beat Nanty Glow 26-7. Into 4 East, in the rural Welsh derby, Crickhowell beat Gwynafed 31-36 to Gwynafed. Another local derby, Crumlin beat Llanilla 34-19. And then Forgeside lost 41-10 at home to RTB Ebervale. And Aaron Wainwright's starting team, Whitehead, beat Betos 53-17. Into 5 East, the North Gwent derby, Beaufort lost 25-29 at home to Tredegar Ironsides. Blackwood Stars beat Hafod Aranis 25-12. Hollybush went away to Derry and lost 40 points to 22. And in what was quite a painful game, if you're a Westmorland fan, they lost 5-89 at home to Abersychan, sorry. So, and this is our significant one, and what I'm going to call the Dragons' lair effect. In 6 East A, New Tredegar at home to Girlin won 89-3.
See, that's what happens when you appear on the pod. So if there's any community clubs listening to this that will watch us on YouTube, you come on the pod and you're going to win by 80-odd points. Yeah,
it's proven. It's proven now. Old Hilarion drew 10-all with Trinant in 6 East A, and in 6 East B, Glencoe won 34-12 at home to St. Julian's High School Old Boys. So a bumper set of results there.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Gav, your Gwent Rugby Roundup. It's nice to have it back, isn't it? It all feels quite familiar now. I do enjoy your Gwent Rugby Roundups. Dan, thank you so much for joining us again. Are you at the game on Saturday?
I certainly hope so. Things are falling into place.
Excellent. Good stuff. Might see you there then. Who knows? Gav,
And
thank you.
Also, it's a Saturday afternoon, which is a rarity.
It is, yes. Although there's been a few complaints about that because it clashes with the community game. It just goes to show you will never please everyone with kick-off times. Nobody will be happy. Some people want Friday nights. Some people don't. Some people want Saturday afternoons. Some don't. What we do agree, well, everyone hates Sundays. That's the most hated option without support. I don't mind a Sunday, though. I think I'm one of the very few people that don't actually mind Sunday afternoon rugby at Rodney Parade.
I think if I lived in Newport, I'd be fine with a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. I do, so that's
that's the thing. or if I lived within travelling distance, me getting the Dragons requires hell of a lot of planning.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Yeah. Okay, then it's been a long one. Let's wrap it up. Thanks again, Dan, for joining us. Great to have you back. Gav, thank you as always, and thank you for listening and downloading this episode. We'll be back next week, but until then, take care and goodbye.
That was the Dragon's Lair. Join us for more of the same next week, and in the meantime, please rate, review and share us on socials if you can. Until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.